What's up? So in this video, I honestly just wanted to do like a completely raw, no edits, just going through my story, and more importantly for you, showing you what I've learned so you can just fast forward your thing and just fast forward your way to being success. Just the raw reality of becoming a millionaire at 26. It's taken me like 6 to 7 years, and I say millionaire because I'll explain what that actually means. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna start at the beginning. My first ever business. I'm trying to keep it brief and just try and give you guys what the actual learnings are, because you probably don't give a crap, and why would you, about my story? But it helps get the points across. So I started when I was like 18, 19. I went to university. My parents wanted me to. I didn't want to go. Whatever. I studied business, moved to London, blah blah blah. And then I came across on YouTube. I came across online business. I came across dropshipping. Okay. Now, most people, when they come across dropshipping, they just see it as, okay, I'm just going to sell whatever, Alibaba, Chinese product, blah, blah, sell them, make money. I never looked at it like that. I always, from the beginning, and this is really important for you, from the beginning, I always wanted to build something with some kind of legacy. I wanted to build a real business. And what I mean by a real business is, I just always imagined like a huge office, loads of employees, you're doing loads and loads of millions and millions and millions. You have a physical product or a service that people recognize, they respect. It's a real brand. I never saw myself as doing one of these, like, there's these types of entrepreneurs where they make a lot of money, but like you never really know what they sell or what they do. It's all kind of like hidden, and like they're not very proud of it. I wanted to be proud of something. I wanted to build something. So I just saw dropshipping as a method to start doing that. And so I started my first brand called London. It's a luxury accessories brand. You can customize it with your initials on it, and blah blah blah, all of that. In the first year, so I discovered influencer marketing, and I discovered Facebook ads. And in the first year, I did 100 grand in sales. You're thinking, wow, you did 100 grand in sales. 100 grand in sales in revenue is absolutely nothing, because the profit on that is usually very, very small. I'll tell you what my profit was. It was about £10,000. So in a whole year, you made £10,000. It's not that, it's not amazing. When you sort of first hear 100 grand and it's 10 grand, it's nothing, right? And so after that, I was like, okay, well, this is my first year, it's 100 grand. I was like, oh my God, like what the hell? And bearing in mind, this is the key takeaway for you. When you start in a product business like this, you always think you're making the revenue that you're making, and you think that's money for you. You think, oh, I've made 100 grand this year. You absolutely did not make 100 grand that year. You made 10 grand, and you didn't even make that, because that just gets reinvested into the business. And this is a key point of where, if you want to build a proper business, this is usually the case for the first few years, where you're just reinvesting, right? In comparison to, say, service-based businesses where there's not much reinvesting to do. I'll get into that later. But the point was, I thought I'd made 100 grand, even though you didn't actually make 100 grand. So this is the key takeaway for you. Number one, your revenue is not your profit. And even your profit isn't what you necessarily take home. What you actually made is what you took and put in your pocket that you can spend on whatever the hell you want. Okay, that's what your take home is. Okay, and your profit is what you could take home potentially. But your revenue means absolutely nothing. It means niche. Okay, so that's the first takeaway for you. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about profit and loss. I couldn't look at a balance sheet or a profit and loss statement back then. Had no clue. Okay, I didn't even figure that out till like 3 or 4 years later in. So hopefully you can figure that out right now, 3 minutes in. Okay, I'm gonna waffle a lot, but there's just gonna be so much helpful stuff here. So if you just stick with it, hopefully, inshallah, you'll get some benefit from it. Anyway, second year, I'm like, okay, cool. This thing is taken off. It really hadn't taken off, like, at all. But you just think it has, because it's like, wow, I did 100 grand, blah blah blah. So I'm like, this thing is taken off, right? Let's take it more seriously. Let's buy stock. Let's stop drop shipping. Let's buy stock. Let's buy this machine where you can customize it, because remember, it was like custom accessories. I brought the machine. It was like 3 or 4 grand. I brought like 6 grand worth of stock. So literally all the money that I had, all the cash that I had, I invested it in. Boom. Facebook ad account got disabled. So that was the first big hit for me. Facebook ad account got disabled. Still have no idea why. That account is still disabled. Bear in mind, we're selling accessories. There's nothing to violate, but it just got disabled and just couldn't sell. Right? That was like one of the main ways we were selling, was for Facebook ads. Bear in mind, this is 2018, when Facebook ads was so cheap and so easy. Like, I wish I knew then what I know now. I would be literally a billionaire by now. Anyway, but that's the point, isn't it? Everyone's like, oh, if I knew that, well, you didn't. So You know what I mean? Stop making excuses. Know what you know now and act on it. Anyways, so that happened. Big problem. Okay, cool. And I'm just trying to get it back. I literally till this day I wouldn't be able to get that back. I just made a new ad account, but now you're starting from zero with zero data in terms of the pixel data. If anybody knows anything about Facebook ads, you need the more sales you get through a certain Facebook ad account pixel, the more smart Facebook becomes and it knows how to target people. Anyway, I had to start from zero. It was very slow. My dumbass, what did I do at the time? I was like, oh, let me increase the quality of the cases, of the product, right? Which is usually a good idea, but again, quality is subjective. You need to understand what your customer wants. So I increased the quality, but what that did is it increased the price to like double, right? And so my dumbass is there ordering in bulk this new quality phone case, new higher quality thing, thinking I'm doing better. Facebook ad account is down. It's a new account, so it's fresh account. So you've got no data, you've doubled your price point and you've launched. What do you think is gonna happen? Yes, you are correct because you are smart and I was retarded. People didn't buy. They're like, well, hang on, why is this double the price now? Bear in mind, right? So this is another key takeaway. When you first invest a lot of money into your brand, let's say you're going from dropshipping to stock, like ordering in bulk stock, or you just take any kind of risk. Let's say you've always had loads of stock, but now you've put in a big stock order, or let's say you've got a service-based business and you've just hired, a big executive to join your team on a big salary, right? Whenever you make these big changes, do not flipping change your product or offer, even if you think it's going to be better. You've already invested a lot of money, right? You want to minimize the risk of losing that money. And one way to guarantee that you increase the risk is by changing other variables. Like, why the hell would you invest, let's say in my case, you've invested 10K, 3 or 4K into this machine, 5 or 6K into stock, right? And then you decide, let me change the pricing and let me change the product. What do you mean, bro? Like, it's like you're starting from zero. It's like starting a new business. So don't ever do that. Whenever you're taking a big swing or you've invested a lot of money or there's a bit of risk, to minimize your risk, do not bloody change your pricing or your product until you have stabilized and you've de-risked that investment, and now you want to practice, now you want to test a different pricing structure, a different product, blah, 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 blah. And always with those things, roll them out slowly. Don't be a retard like me where I just ordered in bulk a whole new product. Essentially, it's a new product. That's what essentially it was, right? Why would you change the one that was already selling? I was an idiot. Hopefully you won't be. Anyway, and so since that point, that brand has just, it just plateaued. For the next 2 years, it just did 100K in this year, 100K this year, 100K this year. That's all it did. Bear in mind, in those years, I was working like 80 hours a week on this brand. Ask me what I was doing, I have no bloody idea. I was just waffling. I was just reading books. I count this as work. It's like you're reading books, you're trying to find more information about e-commerce, you're writing the emails, you're trying to launch new ads, you're trying to find new influencers, and it was just like so much like little bits here and there, which all of it amounted to nothing. So to wrap this chapter up, at the end of this, by year 3, I was like, okay, this is not working, this is not going. You should have thought that like 6 months after things were going downhill. But I sort of, when you're a new business person, you always sort of see these videos and these clips of people saying, hey, you never give up on your dream. You just keep going, you keep pushing, even though it's hard times. Yes, that is true. But you need to objectively look at your business and say, is this something the market wants? Does this have a future? The answer was no for both of those things for me, okay? So you need to be, yes, you have to push, you have to persevere, but you also have to zoom out from your business, look at it objectively, and decide, is this something the market wants? Is this something that's going to grow in the future? Does this legitimately have a future? Okay, and you have to look at that non-emotionally. And it took me 3 years to do that, okay? So now everything I do, I always look at it objectively. I always criticize my own product and my brands more than anyone else. I always call it crap before anyone else, because I'd rather be on the other side of things where I'm like a little bit more pessimistic, but then that pushes me to make the product better, which then increases the chances of it succeeding, than being too optimistic when actually customers don't really care, they don't like it. Okay, so at this point I was in a very low point, because I've just spent 3 years of my life working so hard, waking up every day at 5 a.m, just working all hours of the every day and literally making nothing. When I mean nothing, I literally mean nothing, because all the money that was made we literally just went into getting more stock, or trying out this new influencer, paying them a couple grand, which you lost, or trying this. Like, I personally was completely broke. I didn't have any money, okay? And so what I did at that point is I moved away from London. Bear in mind, I was still in university at this point, so it was okay to be broke, right? It's not like I was living on the streets or anything. I had my student accommodation and blah, 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 all that stuff, so don't feel sorry for me. But obviously I graduated and I was like, okay, well, what's going on now? This thing is not working. So I moved from London to Sheffield. Don't ask me why Sheffield. I had a friend there and he said it's cheap and blah, blah, blah. It's the middle of nowhere compared to London. And it's just a fresh new start, and I needed to get away from London because the rents were high and it was COVID time anyway, so you couldn't go outside. So what was the point? So I just left and moved to Sheffield. This was probably like one of the lowest points. Bear in mind, timeline. This is 3 years in. Okay, this is 3 years in. You're probably seeing people online where they're like, yo, I became a multi-millionaire in 3 years. I brought a Bugatti in 3 years. Okay, pal, maybe you did. But the actual sort of realistic timeline is that in the first 3 years, you're just figuring out what the hell's going on. You don't know what's going on, okay? That's like the realistic. I'm not saying that you can't be faster than that and people can't make more money quicker. You definitely can, but that's what it was for me, and that's what it was for a lot of people that I know. Because you just don't know. You still don't know what the actual game of business even is yet. Anyways, so I moved to Sheffield, and this is a really, really low point. I was living in London. I was living in central London. I was going to this business school where there's loads of like rich kids that went there, like European rich kids. And now they're all going back to their countries. They're all, getting really cool jobs, working in their family company. Everyone's sorted. And what am I doing? I've got a failed phone case brand, and I'm moving back to Sheffield. Like, it just felt like the biggest L ever, right? But that's life. You've got to take the downs and the ups. Like, you've just got to keep rolling with it. Anyway, I moved to Sheffield. I got there. I was like, okay, I need to get out of this brand, and I need to do something different. I need to. What I'm doing is completely wrong, and I just need to think better and just actually think about providing value to customers. This is the biggest takeaway. This is what took me from a 3-year failing singular business to, within the next 3 years, building 2 multi-million-pound companies. One of them is a service-based business and one of them is a product-based business. Okay? This is the difference. I stopped thinking about myself and I started thinking about providing value to people. I started thinking about solving other people's problems. I didn't think about, it would be cool to build this brand, and this is the typical thing that I thought about, like, I'm gonna build this luxury accessories brand. I'm gonna get somebody to bring their Rolls Royce so I can take pictures with it, and then I can take pictures with it as well. Like, it was all just about you and how you would look and da. Bollocks. You need to think about what the customer wants, what would actually solve lots of people's problems, what would provide a lot of value to customers. And that is the biggest. If you just stop the video right now and just take that away, you've won, okay? Business is about solving the customer's problem better than everyone else, okay? And I'm just gonna go into this a bit deeper and ramble on a bit because it's the most important thing. You need to solve the customer's problem, okay? Cool. Yes, you need to provide value to the customer. Okay, what does that mean? It means you need to figure out what is a big problem they have, okay? Because you could solve the customer's problem, but if it's a problem they don't really give a crap about, you're not gonna make that much money, okay? Like, if they're, I don't know, if there's like a problem where, like, most people, when they wear socks, the bottom of it becomes black after a few wears, and you make this brand new sock where actually the bottom of it doesn't get black until like a month later. You've kind of solved the problem, but it's not big enough, it's not important enough, people don't care enough. You might make money, but it's not, people don't give a crap. If you bloody solve cancer, okay, hopefully that illustrates the point. So you need to find a problem that is big enough and important enough to the customer and solve that problem, okay? You need to solve their problem and think about them and how you can provide them as much value as possible. Because essentially business is about me give you something that you really want and you give me money. That's what it is. And so the easiest way is to get loads of people to give you loads of money is for you to give them loads of things that they really, really want. Okay? If you've got a bunch of people in the desert and they're all flipping thirsty and you come through with a helicopter with loads of water, they'll give you all of their net worths for that water because you've solved a huge flipping problem. Okay? Obviously this is a bit extreme, but what I'm trying to illustrate is you need to find big enough problems that you can solve better than anyone else, okay, and solve it for them and just think about the customer. The money will then come. Cool? Cool. All right, so I was thinking with this mentality, so what did I do? I sold London. I'm trying to skip through the boring bits for you guys. I sold London, okay? When I say sold it, don't think of like, oh, he got an exit and blah. No, I just sold it for whatever the stock that I had was worth. I was lucky to even do that, to be honest. I don't know how I managed to pull that off. And I'm actually quite proud that that brand has since been sold again and it's still running. And the founder, I'm still in contact with him and he's working really hard on it. And so I'm actually quite proud that my first ever business is still alive, okay? It's still alive. So that's one positive I'll take. Anyway, not that that flipping matters. At this time, it was around 2021, 2022, TikTok was starting to take off. And I just remember how my Facebook ad account got banned. And then since then, everything was downhill. And then one thing I didn't mention is this new iOS update came out for Facebook ads, which made it more difficult. Let's just call it more difficult to scale Facebook ads. Anyway, I just felt like I had been hard done and I'd missed that whole boat. If I had started in business a couple of years earlier, at the same time, you know, all of these Gymsharks, Movement, Manager, all of these people that started around 2015, 2014, they managed to get into Facebook ads early and they just managed to absolutely scale and make obscene amounts of money. And I just felt like I'd missed that boat, which I had, right? And then TikTok was coming out and I was just like, this is going to be the next boat and I'm going to be the first person on this flipping boat. I'm not missing the next boat, okay? Because one thing I did gain from those 3 years is a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. Like I mentioned to you, I was spending a lot of time reading, watching podcasts, etc. And something that I'd learned is that every 10 years or so, every 20 years, there's like this new marketing arbitrage that comes through and brands take advantage of it, and that's when they, you know, take off, and then everyone else starts doing it and then it's a bit too late for them. I was the everyone else with Facebook ads at that time. TikTok was coming and I was like, I am absolutely milking the living hell out of TikTok. Whatever TikTok brings, I'm gonna make obscene amounts of money from it. So what did I do? I came from a different perspective. Now I'm coming from the what can I provide value with. Two things I did. I was working on a new brand because that's what I wanted to do. I want to build an empire, brand, blah, 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 all of that. Another thing as well, during this time, I got a lot more religious and I wanted to do something more for my religion, my community, all of that thing. Side note. So what did I do? I just thought, okay, I want to do something for my community, for Muslims, preferably, okay? And it needs to be something that solves a problem, a big enough problem. And I was just looking at loads of different ideas. At the time, I was getting into the gym because obviously I was a bit depressed and from what was going on, so the gym was kind of helping me keep going. And I was like, it would be cool to do something in fitness. It would be cool to do something in gym. And then my first idea was obviously do a men's gym wear brand for Muslims. But again, now I'm coming from the perspective of what provides value and what solves a problem. There isn't a problem there. Us men, we can flipping wear anything, right? Just wear joggers and a t-shirt, you're fine in terms of modesty, in terms of anything, right? And so it wasn't a big enough problem. But then it just hit me that, okay, what about women? What about hijabis? What about modesty, modest gym wear? And that's just when that idea got into my head and I couldn't get it out. I would go into the bathroom and I just couldn't get it out of my head. I'd go in the kitchen and I'd be like cooking. I'd be like, oh, modest gym wear. Like, I just couldn't get it out of my head for like a week. And I was like, that's it. That's the thing I need to do. But let me be smart about it. So I did some research. Never done this before. Is this an actual problem? Because in my head, I'm like, yeah, it is a problem. But maybe there's somebody out there that's already solving it. And if there is, that means I'll have to do it 10 times better than them. So I looked around, I did some research. I literally wrote down all the competitors that were there at the time. There was like 3, but most of them were like inactive for years. One of them was doing all right. And I was looking at what's positive, what's negative. I was looking at the returns policies. I was looking at products. How much is it? What's the price point? Blah, blah, blah. Literally because I want to provide as much value as possible. And so after I did all of this analysis, I was like, okay, I need to build a brand which has this positive, and has this positive, and then has this positive because all the other brands have that as a negative. So I'll have that as a positive. I'll solve that. It needs to be at this price point so that I'm not too expensive and I'm not blah, blah, blah. And I was just literally like picking out all of their problems and just making sure I didn't have them, basically. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing. Now we have a plan. You see how already, just from doing that, you know for a fact that you're most likely to be successful. Because you've thought about it from the perspective of the customer. Why would the customer buy from anyone else if I'm just better in all these points? And these are all the points that are most important to them. Do you know what I mean? Right? So, again, hopefully this is helpful for you. So, I started starting that business, right? I started designing and again, going back to the TikTok thing. All right, I'm milking TikTok. So what did I do? I started making TikTok content, building the brand behind the scenes. I was like, I don't give a crap how many views I get. I'm just going to figure out this TikTok thing. Bearing in mind, this is a women's brand, I am a man, okay? The content was absolutely ridiculous. If you scroll all the way down to on my TikTok for my brand, Haya, I didn't even mention the name of the brand. The brand's called Haya. You'll see the content. It was ridiculous. It was literally just me filming, literally like this, my dirty ass Sheffield carpet. Hey guys, this is a new sample. What do you guys think? Do you think this should be longer? And to my surprise, the girls were replying and giving me their feedback and helping me. Barakallahu feehum. They were like, oh yeah, you should make this longer. Oh, this would be really helpful. And before I knew it, I was building a very, very small, but I was building a community on TikTok. Before launch, I had no money at this point, right? So, what happened? I continued doing that, and because it's my first time doing clothing, and because I wanted to put the customer first and solve their problem, I did a lot of samples, a lot of designing, a lot of back and forth. In total, I think it was about 10 months or a year before I even launched. During that time, what did I do for money? So I had a telephone fundraising job, which earned me £1,100 a month. It was like you just have to sell. It's fundraising, not sales. So you had to fundraise for a charity, but it's basically telephone sales, right? It was from home, which is great. And I just did that. Literally earned £1,100 a month. My bills and rent and food and everything was like £1,000 a month or 1,100. Literally, it was like bang on exact. Okay, cool. During this time, again, I was thinking about TikTok. TikTok's gonna take off. It's gonna take off. It's taking off. And I was like, I've always done the product-based business, but service-based business people seem to be living much better lifestyles. They seem to be richer because all the money they make, they just take home. They don't need to buy inventory or buy, you know what I mean? Like the profit they make, they just put it in their pocket. And I was like, that sounds really good. So I just had this idea. I was like, what if we did TikTok for businesses? Because there's like a gazillion agencies that do, Facebook ads. I remember because they all used to message me from my old brand. And I was like, but nobody's talking about TikTok yet. They're all still doing that. Well, that sounds like an arbitrage opportunity. That sounds like a problem that needs solving. A very big one and a very important one. Alarm bells ringing again. But I left it to the back of my head. It kept coming to the front of my head, but I'll just push it back and say, no, let's just focus on building this. What happened? I lost my job, the telephone fundraising job. Why did I lose it? Completely my fault. In between calls, I'd literally just be watching podcasts on building businesses and brands and e-commerce, and I was just completely not focused on that, and so I just wasn't hitting the targets. And I'm not an employable person. I hated that. I didn't want to do it. I just did it to pay my bills, whatever. Lost my job, and I remember I had, I think, £1,000 in my bank account, so I had enough to pay one more month's rent and bills. So I said to myself, that TikTok idea that I've been pushing to the back of my head, it's been in mind for months. What if, right, we've got a month, what if we give 2 weeks to try and build that business, get a client and start offering that as a service? If I don't get anyone in 2 weeks, then I've got 2 more weeks to find another job, and then it will still be enough time before I have to pay my bills and rent again for the next month. Screw it, let's do it. I started emailing, nobody replied to me. I started calling. I didn't even know who to call. I didn't even know who to target. I was just like, hey, we're doing TikTok. TikTok's the next thing, blah, blah, blah. I was calling all these dentists. I was calling like local businesses and just completely out of my comfort zone. Bear in mind, I'm an e-commerce guy. I didn't even know that sales was a thing. I didn't know it was a skill. I didn't have a formula. I was literally just going off pure emotion, passion, and just like, hey, this is the next thing, because I genuinely believe that, right? I think that's the difference. When you genuinely believe the thing that you're trying to sell, even though I didn't know how to deliver it, okay? I just knew that TikTok was the next thing, and it's like, if you just put me in there, I will sort it out. And I did have some experience because I was doing it for my business. Yeah, even though it was terrible, I still had something I was doing, right? So I was calling, emailing. Literally everyone was like, no. And then I was like, okay, cool. Let me go to the busiest street in Sheffield where all the restaurants are. It was called London Road. I got on a bus, got right on the top of it, and I went and knocked on every single restaurant going down that road, every single one. I would go up to them and it would literally just be the worker. Obviously, it wouldn't be the owner. I was like, hey, can I speak to the owner? Yeah, sorry, he's not in. I'll be like, oh, okay, thanks. And walk out. Obviously, like, you need to push. You need to be like, oh, no, I'll wait. Where is he? Oh, can I speak to the manager? Can I get an email? You need to be a bit more. Obviously, this is skills, this is timing, this is learning. I didn't know. There was one guy who was the owner who was in, and he came in and he sat me down, and I was like, oh my god, this is my chance. And I spoke him through it, and I was like, this and this, and blah, blah, blah. Bear in mind, I was happy to do it for dirt cheap. I just wanted to get started, right? And I almost had him, but it didn't work out. And then I was like, but this is the first person who actually gave a crap, and he was a restaurant owner. So I was like, cool, let me target some other restaurants. So I started doing DMs, I started doing emails, and then one guy replied, and he was like, hey, I'm interested, call me. I was like, crap. I remember being on my bed, I was like, cool, okay, crap. I was so nervous. Call him. I didn't have a choice, right? You don't have a job. When your back is against the wall, right, you just do things. Okay, and that's what I like, and I always recommend people. If your life isn't going the way it's going, you want it to go, and it's been like that for a couple of years, just move to a different place where you don't know anybody and put your back against the wall. It will do you some good. It did for me. Anyway, called him. Hello, yes, blah blah blah. I think TikTok would work really really well. Here's a page that I'm doing. It's for hair. Okay, so we're doing it for them. This is what it's going, how it's going so far. Blah blah blah. At the time, I had like one viral video. It had like 80K. The rest were on like a couple thousand. Terrible numbers considering the time, because it was so early. It was so easy to go viral on TikTok at that time. But again, I'm a guy trying to do women's stuff with tech. Like, it was never gonna go viral, but it's still one of them managed to do well. He was like, yeah, that looks good, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, let's get started. And I was like, okay. And he was like, how much is it? And I was like, well, we can do. And he was like, I've got 2 restaurants, by the way, I can give you both. I was like, oh my God, I was losing my crap. I think I quoted him something like, for both of them, it would be like £1,500, right? Which is dirt cheap for 2 businesses. But for me, I was like, 1,500, I'm gonna be so rich. I was earning 1,100 doing flipping slave labor. 1,500, I'm gonna be flipping loaded. I've never seen 1,500 a month. I've never seen 1,500 a month, me personally. My business and stuff is different. So I did that. I told him that. He was like, too expensive, blah, 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 blah. What can you do for me? I was like, I can do £600 a month for each of them, right? And we can just start with one, and if you're happy with it, we can do the one. That's how desperate I was. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And he was like, there's no point wasting time. Let's book you in for this day, blah, blah. I was like, yep, I'm free, boom. Cool. I had now landed a client. I've still got a video of me going to the thing. If I find it, I'll put it on this video. Anyway, good memories, man. I remember going there, and the first shoot was absolute disaster. He was like, what is this? This isn't good. Bear in mind, it wasn't a thing to film just with iPhone. TikTok is with iPhone. He was like, why don't you have a camera? Like, he felt like, what's going on? Blah, blah. I was like, no, TikTok, this is it, blah, blah, blah. And I think he just kind of believed in my passion, because I'm very, like, I care about my work, and I'm very nerdy about business. So I was like, no, trust me, TikTok, it needs to look raw. It's not cinematic. It's completely different to Instagram. Forget about Instagram. This is completely different. Trust me, it's gonna work, blah, blah. And he was just like, all right, do you think? First shoot was terrible. He was like, you know what? Let's book in another one. So he hadn't paid me yet. He was like, no. He was like, let's book in another shoot, okay? And now that I know that you're gonna do iPhone and you want to film this type of stuff and you're gonna film the food, blah blah blah, I'll make sure the team is more ready, because it was both of our first times. And credit to him, he didn't like just cancel it. He was like, yeah, let's do it again. Next shoot, I went and I did it and I smashed it. I started posting. He paid me. I remember I was like, yep, the shoot's done. And bless him, he wasn't even there. But he just called me. He was like, how's the shoot? I was like, no, this one's much better. The staff were a lot more lively, blah, 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 blah. He was like, cool, all right, I'm sending the payment now. I checked it, boom, £600 into my bank account. I was like, oh my God. I remember it was in Manchester, and I was walking back to go to the train station to go back to Sheffield. I was like, £600. Honestly, that was a big win. I was so happy, right? You have to understand, I was working like 25 hours a week or something. I can't remember. Like, I was working a significant amount of time in the week just to pay bills. And this was just one shoot. It took one day. That was it. And I was already earned £600. So I did one more, and I would have matched my flipping salary from 2 days of work, right? And it's my own business. I work for myself. So I was just honestly over the moon, right? Now in my head, this is just something to pay my bills and have some money to buy inventory to start my brand, okay? Obviously, since then, it's turned into its own full-fledged company. Yeah, I started posting. First post, 4K. Second post, a few grand. Blah, 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 blah. And then, like, the 10th post got 10 million views. Right? And that was it. He was sold. That's it. When's the next shoot? Flipping, let's go. That's it. We've got monthly recurring income now. He was like, all right, my other restaurant, let's do this one. Boom. And I was like, all right, cool. Now I'm doing it. And nobody was doing this in the market. Nobody. There was, like, one other person. But we had blown their results out of the water. Okay, because they were kind of doing everything. They'll do your emails and your ads, and they'll do a couple of TikToks. We were just TikTok, because I knew that's where the most value is, and that's where the biggest problem is you can solve. Again, that's how I was viewing things back then. Still is till this day. It's the biggest takeaway. 10 million views, bro. You get 10 million views. Other restaurant owners, they take alert. They're like, what the hell is this TikTok thing? Why is it? They were getting busy, blah blah blah. All right, that was it. From then on, started DMing loads of restaurants. Loads of people replied, yes, start, sign another client, sign another one, sign another one. Before you know it, I was earning £5,000 a month just from doing like 5 days of work a month. And I was like, oh my goodness, £5,000 a month. I had never seen forget people online. You know, online everything is so inflated. Everyone's like, yo, I'm doing 50k a month, I'm doing 500k a month, I'm doing 2 mil a month, blah blah blah. Yes, they are, and those numbers are great, and blah 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 blah. But when you make that first few £1,000s a month, it feels like, it honestly feels like, oh my goodness. Like for me, I still have that feeling now. I've earned way more than that now, and I don't really feel anything. But back then, man, I remember hitting 5,000. I was like, oh my god, flipping doctors don't earn £5,000 a month after taxes. I was like, wow, you know? And so that was it. I was just like, cool, boom, I'm just gonna do TikTok. And this is again, this mentality, I'm just gonna milk TikTok. I'm gonna do this service for all of these clients, and I'm gonna build my brand Haya off of this, okay? Eventually I launched Haya, and because I'd built that community, I built a pre-order list. And so on launch day, straight away, pre-orders, straight away had orders coming in, customers coming in, boom. And then from then on, it was literally, I'm just gonna fast track now. From then on, it was literally just focused on creating content, building the businesses, providing as much value as possible to customers. Here's another thing that you can learn from me. So the problem is, because I had both, it was both a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing because I had a service-based business, and so this is the difference between two. A service-based business, like I said, the money that you make, you put in your pocket, okay? And so I was living off of that. A product-based business, you don't do that till a good few years later, okay? Because you have to keep investing. Haya, I still haven't taken a single penny from my business. It's a multi-million pound brand now, okay? This is why I said millionaire. I'm a millionaire, but I don't have £1 million in my bank account. It's all reinvested into the business. It's all reinvested into the business, okay? So it just keeps going in and in, more and more inventory, more stock, let's hire some people, let's make this better, let's provide a better service, let's provide faster shipping for the customers, let's give them more products, let's give them more sizing, all of that thing. Like, it's just, and I think it really, really does help when you actually care about your customers. That's one thing that I have, which I always thought was a disadvantage of me, is that I cared too much about people. But I've realized that's actually an advantage if you do something for people who appreciate things. And this is why I want to do something for Muslims, because I care so much. I care about the ummah, and just like this, just overall, forget about money and business. Just, we should be helping the ummah, the things that are going on in Palestine right now. Like, we feel each other, right? If what, the ummah is like one body. If one part is in pain, then the whole body should be in pain, right? We all have this feeling. It makes it a lot easier to just give a crap about your customers, man, and just build them something better, okay? And then Allah will give you barakah. That's what I found, right? If you're not a Muslim, what I just said there basically is, when you care more about other people, God will give you more blessings in that thing, because you're doing it with the right intentions. Anyway, so both of them were growing, but because I was juggling both, this would grow a bit, and I was like, okay, this one's dying, let me grow it. And so I was just juggling, right? And so eventually, but because they were both earning me good money, I couldn't just let one of them go. This one was allowing me to pay my rent and just have some money for once in my life, to not flipping skimp out on ordering a Nando's, okay, and not be a brokey. And this one was allowing me to build my dream in the long term and actually build a sustainable empire, business, brand, all of that stuff that I said in the beginning of the video. But eventually both of them got to a very, very good level. And I was like, okay, now I can't do both. I need to focus. This is focus time now, because there was a lot more competitors on this side, and there was a lot more competitors on this side. And it would be very arrogant of me to think that I would continue to be at the top on both if I'm running both, even though I did that for a very long time. But the reason that was the case is because I saw the vision, and I was in there early, and I provided value to customers first. But that only gets you so far. The algorithm on TikTok only gets more difficult. There's only more customers, more competitors, and so your brilliance is more limited, okay? And same on this side. If there's like 10 other options for customers, then you really have to be really, really good. So this is where you bring in, this is another learning for you. If you have a younger sibling, a cousin, a family member, somebody who you really, really trust and wants to work, bring them in, man. Bring them in. Forget all of this stuff about, oh, don't work with your family members, don't work with your friends. That's complete BS. If you have a vision, and they see your vision, and they see that you're going somewhere, and you care about them and they care about you, why the hell would it not work out? Why is it more likely to work out if you just bring in another stranger? That doesn't make any sense. You just have to be clear, and you just have to love each other enough to respect each other and to get back being friends even after you have any arguments, and just think about the vision long term, right? So what did I do? I brought in my brother, and I was like, hey bro, I'm gonna teach you how to do this for the agency. I taught him how to make content, so he started taking on some clients, doing some work, slowly. I was like, okay, right, within the next year, I want you to be fully running this, and I'm just gonna be fully running that. Okay, and so again, that was a transition. It was very difficult. It took a lot of trusting in me and him, and also it took a lot. I gave him shares in it. Okay, you can't be selfish. You cannot be selfish. If you want to make more money, other people have to make money around you. Don't be selfish, man. Don't, like, money will come. So slowly over time, he was taking more and more responsibilities, and so he started earning more and more money, as he should. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, you're ready to this is your company now. And so I basically gave him that business. I still have shares in it. I still earn money from it, but it's his company. And obviously we live together, so I'm always there, and he's always telling me, oh, what should I do this? Like, cool. But this allows me to now focus on this, okay, and make this better. And so when we did that, both businesses doubled. Okay, so this is another learning from you. Focus allows you to make more money. Forget this. Let's pretend I'm an only child and I didn't have anybody to give this business to, and I just had to pick. I would still be better off if I just picked one and binned the other one, because that business has doubled since, right? Okay, now I'm in a very good situation where I've still got both. But again, it's focus. That's what I'm trying to tell you, okay? Focus. Forget all the waffle that I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you need to focus, find a way to do that, whether that's having somebody handle this business or getting rid of another business or whatever it is. Don't get distracted. Just focus. Like, you need to give everything into one thing, and then even then, inshallah, it will be successful. Like, nothing is guaranteed. Okay, we're 36 minutes in. I think I've waffled enough. Hopefully that's helpful. This is where I'm up to now. So I still own 2 businesses. I am completely focused on Haya. My brother is completely focused on Space Media. Both are growing. Both are doing well. Both of them, the basis of their marketing is short form content. So as you can imagine, we are experts in making viral content. So if you're interested in viral content, contact Space Media. If you want to go viral for your business, if you want help on that, blah, 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 Space Media is who you want to go to. If you are a modest dressing woman that goes to the gym and you need modest gym wear, go to Haya. And if you're just here because you're an entrepreneur, please take all of the learnings that I've learned, apply them to your business, and hopefully you'll be successful, inshallah. And in turn, hopefully I will get some barakah back into my business for giving that out. Peace. Thank you. Bye.